Today we're going to be looking at Dragonar Academy. Dragonar Academy is another series from the 2014 spring season. It follows. It's a really interesting premise. The continent is in the shape of a dragon, and then in the under the arm, right in through here, there's a country that raises dragons, and or they go to a school, obviously the Dragonar Academy, to become breeders. And the show itself, the premise is actually pretty good. I kind of like the premise, but the show kind of falls a bit. It's based on a light novel, and it feels very adapted. It feels like you're missing. It does truly feel like you're missing something, and at least towards the end. Even though the end does give you a fairly satisfying cutoff. But it's one of those open-ended cutoffs that should expand. But I really didn't enjoy this series as much as I did, say, Dimeter or even Chaika. And the reason for that is, partially at least, was our main heroine, the Echo. She's Dragon Jesus, but she's not an interesting character. She's loud, she's abusive, but there's a little depth to her in the last couple episodes, but it really doesn't ring. It rings pretty hollow, is what it does, and the series could have been so much better if Echo was an interesting person, or if it focused more on Sylvia. Sylvia is the 7th princess of the kingdom. I haven't even talked. Hear me getting into Sylvia versus Echo, and I haven't even talked about Ash, the main character, because aside from his really cool tattoo, he's fairly generic. He's sort of that upstanding ideal for Japanese society. He's very chaste, he's a bit of a troublemaker, but only when someone has insulted Echo, or his pal, as I call them. But he's not that interesting of a character. I mean, at first he is, because he can ride any dragon, and he thinks that throughout the series he makes some incredibly stupid decisions because of it. The whole Gawain storyline is a perfect example of that. I could have just asked Echo to translate. They have someone who speaks dragon and human. So why did you not just ask her to translate, instead of trying to force yourself on the back of this dragon? But back to Sylvia. Sylvia is actually much more interesting as a character, being the seventh princess, who her oldest brother was actually at this academy and put to death for killing his dragon, his pal. And some of the plot points seem very interesting if you can tell them from a couple of episodes away. You can see most of the plot points coming, but they're very heavy-handed with a lot of them. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about with this series was that because a lot of the fight scenes ended up getting censored, that sometimes it took the weight out of a lot of the fights, because you didn't see the other academy students losing these fights. There's one in particular at a lake where except for the class president and few other characters, too, most of the class is just, they're losing terribly to these these undead dragons. I think they call them necromancias, but if you just saw it as it aired and as it was streamed, it didn't feel like it was a high intensity fight. You just saw Rebecca throw her weapon 2 or 3 times, and then it cut back to Echo being raped again, which is another thing about the series, is that Echo is almost always molested by the undead dragons. Almost always. It has something to do with the evil dragon and his grand scheme, but it just comes across as kind of creepy, considering I think in the series she's about, when the series ends, she's about a month or 2 old. So yeah, as always, there's a link to watch the stream in the description, and I will be back next week with more of the forest. And after that, well, Kamigami. Be sure and check out my buddy over at Flipside Gaming if you like Duty in Halo.